Today we're talking with Army veteran Brandon Mills, CEO of Total Promotion Company. Brandon, thanks for being here today, doing some good things. We're looking forward to talking about your business and entrepreneurship. Before we do that, take us back. Tell us what you did in the Army.
Yeah, I was a tanker. So I did a contract, spent a good amount of my time in Korea, got out of the Army at Fort Hood, stayed in Texas for a while I transitioned into the oil industry,
Uh
and then realized that I didn't want to work for anybody anymore.
huh.
I maximized how much I could sell my time for, and then I sold as much of it as I could. Made good money, but I realized that it was freedom that I ultimately desired over money.
Yeah, tanker, tanks, the king of battle. Yeah.
That's right.
So, what was the transition into the oil industry like? You know, in the concept of watch everybody's watching Landman, right?
Yeah. That was a great series, by the way. I love that one. Except for when Billy Bob Thornton hit the pipe wrench backwards, it really irked me, but that's fine. But
Technicality, right?
yeah. No, when I was ETSing, I ended up going to a truck driving school and getting my CDL. And then I got a job with Schneider for about 5 months, driving over the road,
Yeah.
just kind of getting my feet wet in the driving big trucks around, and realized that over the road job was just not for me. It was I didn't make hardly any money, and I was gone away from home all the time, and it just but I was able to transition into the oil industry. In fact, one of the guys I served with in Korea, he was working for this company, Pioneer Natural Resources, at the time, and he said, "Man, I got a spot for you." I said, "Come on." So got into that. Started out as a fueler. I just had to make sure all the equipment had diesel in it. And then from there, I was just learning all the different jobs. Went to become pump operator, and then I became a coil tubing operator. And it was long hours. It was dirty work. It was not too much different from the military. It was they love veterans just because we're used to eating shit and just dealing with a lot of adversity.
Yeah.
Uh, but it was great money, but it ultimately led me to desire something other than selling my time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where did it where did the concept come from of I'm working for somebody, trading time for dollars? What's this entrepreneurship thing? Working for myself. What's that? Where's that coming from?
Yeah. Well, so when I was working for the company I was with, it was a pretty decent company, but they ended up selling our department along with all of our equipment to a third party. And I went along. I had a retention bonus and went with the new company. It wasn't as run as nice as the other company, but I made really good money. And it was but however, all the people that went to the new company were completely targeted for they wanted our equipment and our stuff, but they didn't want the people that came with it.
Huh.
So when the price of oil went down, they finally had an excuse to let me go. But they had to pay out the rest of my year for that contract that I had.
Yeah.
And so I ended up looking for another job that was closer to home, same kind of job. I was doing coil tubing operating, and uh, and prior to that, I was working 2 weeks on, 1 week off, and so every 2 weeks I'd get a week off to go spend with the kids, with the family.
Hmm.
And this next job, they're paying me a whole lot less per hour with 3 weeks on, 1 week off, and they're saying, "Oh, you're getting paid the same amount of money." I say, "Well, it's not the same amount of money. I've got to work 33% more
Yeah.
in order to get it." And I went probably one hitch, one 3 week hitch, and I thought, man, this is not it. Uh, Ended up having a kind of a falling out with my wife of the time. I thought, man, I'm gonna head home and look for opportunity. And so came back to Las Vegas, got online, started looking to see what was available. Uh, I was looking for businesses that are already established. Uh, I came across the business I have now, Total Promotion Company. It was an older gentleman and his wife with a bunch of old equipment. They didn't even have a website. They were running everything on QuickBooks Desktop. And I thought, man,
Huh.
I think I could probably take this and implement some technology into it and see where it goes. And so that's what I did.
Yeah.
Uh, I got the business dirt cheap. I mean, it was, I mean, I guess I'll be completely transparent. I paid $80,000 for the business, and now we're doing that, every month. So yeah, we really took it and grew. But there was a whole lot of problems initially, especially since, I acquired the company in December of 2019. 2.5 months later, lockdowns happened
Huh.
throughout the whole country, and I thought, man, my timing is bad, and it really kind of knocked me down. But I wasn't going to allow failure to be an option, and
Right.
regardless of what it was going to take, even if that meant moving equipment to my garage, and operating there. Luckily, it never turned into that, but we had to do some creative things to keep business coming in. At, I had a built up Jeep that I brought with me from the oil industry back when I had a bunch of money, and uh, and so I'd go out with a bunch of different Jeep groups and go off-roading all around Las Vegas, Utah, different areas, and a lot of people in those communities were other business owners, and I discovered the power of networking and community and going out and finding people that want to do business.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold that thought. All right, back talking with Army veteran Brandon Mills, CEO of Total Promotion Company. So Brandon, I want to ask you about buying a business. Um,
Sure.
the SBA has a really good statistic that like 80% of brand new businesses will fail within the first 5 years, but 80% of existing businesses will be successful. And the thing that people should know with that statistic is if you buy a business that's currently making money and has been successful for a few years, the likelihood of it continuing with success is very high. Whereas if you start one from scratch, your likelihood of failure is very high. So buying a business is a really good way to get into entrepreneurship. And I know a number of veterans, I think that they had some special deals too, where if it's so much money that you have to go get a loan, the SBA will work with you and you might have to come up with 20%. They're running a deal where you only had to come up with 10% of your own money up to like, 500,000 or more to buy an existing business. So you got yours for pretty cheap. Like I think you said it was 80 grand.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and not every business has to be a really big, robust, expensive business. So you might find a smaller one that, like you said, had some archaic ways of doing things and you can scale it and blow it up, you know, fairly inexpensively. So how did you actually find that? Were you just looking online and
I was looking for businesses on for sale on Google,
it's
and I was just seeing what was available in my area, and there's a few that was around. I was looking at possibly looking at franchises,
Mhm.
uh, and I was used to working in dirty conditions, so I was looking at like a grease trap business that would go and suck out all the grease out of restaurants, but I'm
No.
kind of glad I didn't go that way. This is a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Uh, but there's a few things I was looking to do. And the thought behind the grease trap thing was, jobs that nobody else wants to do will pay a high amount for you to do them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the dirty jobs concept.
Right.
Um, but so I mean, I'm potentially looking to replicate what I've done here, and I've been looking at other businesses now. Um, excuse me. I've been looking at other businesses to see if I could find something that is similar to what I found here, which was an older couple looking to retire. He was getting out for medical reasons. He was an Army vet as well, actually. So
Oh,
we already had a rapport, right
yeah.
off the bat. When I decided that I was going to buy the business, I basically shadowed him for about 2 months and learned everything that I could from him the way that he was doing things, so that I didn't come in and just completely disrupt it.
Hmm.
We can make incremental changes over time. One of the first things we did was improve our accounting software. He was doing everything on QuickBooks Desktop and invoices, and I had to figure out a way to improve our systems because to do a quote took all day, for something small, and it was just losing money. Everything that we were doing was losing money.
Hmm.
And so it ended up taking some trial and error, trying some new software platforms, learning different production techniques, and then investing in new equipment. So that has been what has been the game changer for me now is the investment in technology. Uh, we brought a new printing technology to Nevada about 3 years ago called direct to film, which is digital print for, any kind of fabrics. And we wholesale to other shops that don't have that kind of technology.
Okay.
It wasn't easy. I mean, we banged our head against the wall for about a year, replacing about damn near every part on that printer until we got it really dialed in. And then once we had that, we realized, well, we need to get another printer because of dual redundancy. People rely on, deadline, like they expect us to have the product completed, by a certain deadline.
Right.
And if we don't, then we damage our reputation.
Sure. So, when you bought the business, were they actually profitable? Were they like profitable month?
Not really. They weren't really spending very much money either, so they weren't, but they also weren't bringing very much in. And so they were probably breaking even, if anything.
Hmm.
It wasn't the business wasn't run great. He had his wife and the one employee that we retained, and it was just kind of chaotic. And it took a while before we could really get a grasp on it.
Hmm.
But now we've got 8 employees, and we've got different departments, we've got different production methods. And for me right now, I mean, I'm to the point to where I no longer have to work in the business. I don't produce a thing. Right now, I'm doing more business development and then big picture stuff like planning on where we want to go. Like software integrations is a big thing for me this year. Uh, getting one software platform to connect with a different software platform that doesn't already have a native integration, and hiring software developers to be able to help solve those problems.
Yeah. What
And then
AI
and
system did you end up going with early on?
so it was super huge. Probably our the biggest piece of that puzzle that helped us to scale to where we're at now was a shop management software called Deco Network, and it's an industry specific software platform
Hmm.
that allows us to do quotes, invoices, inventory management, uh, and everything all under one. The only problem is that data that we collect within that platform does not connect easily to a CRM. And so we've had to build bridges to get data to migrate to different areas so that we can use it. Uh, at the end of last year, we just started doing digital marketing, and it's still pretty new for us, but I'm trying to build a marketing machine that will allow us to have uh, you know orders coming in without me having to go out there and hustle for them.
Hmm. So you mentioned earlier that you no longer have to work in your business. Being a brand new entrepreneur, where what was your awareness like when you realized I am spending too much time working in my business, and how were you able to get out of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a lot of things that would take up a lot of my time, and a lot of that was production stuff. And so when I realized I could hire that out, and it would free up time to focus on other areas, it's almost as if like I would be working on a problem, and then once I have that problem figured out, I'd pay someone else to operate that solution that I've come up with,
Yeah.
and then I would go on to the next problem. And so basically I go for it's whack-a-mole on problems as you're working in the business.
Yeah, I heard this put a long time ago that said if it's making you money, you should not be doing it. Meaning
Yeah.
you've figured out how to get it to a point where it's making money. Now you bring somebody in and run that, and you move on.
Right, exactly. So like however, initially every time we try something new, I'm usually right there in there getting, elbows deep into it, figuring it out. And once I have it figured out, I pay someone else to operate.
Yep, absolutely. So where are you guys at now as far as like what kind of numbers can you share with us, volume and all that?
Sure. We should be hitting our million mark this year,
Like a
which
million in
is
revenue?
a million in revenue, yeah.
Nice.
And I mean, I've basically 10x the business since I've bought it. And if we look at value wise, it's even more than that, just because our book of business has grown. We've got about 1,600 clients now that we have on our system. And then that's spread out, with the customer value over a whole bunch. So yeah, it's worked out pretty well. And I attribute a lot of that too, also to the strong veteran community here in Las Vegas. Is
Yeah.
I joined a program called Bunker Labs early on,
Yeah.
uh,
Very familiar.
which I don't know if they're around anymore. I
Oh
think they
yeah.
they
Yeah.
moved some
I
stuff
used to be
around,
a city
but
leader for Bunker Labs in
oh yeah,
Kansas
oh that's
City.
great.
Oh yeah.
And just the connections within that, being able to I mean, as soon as people, get to know me and find out what I do, everybody has a need for the kind of products that we offer, which is, promotional products and apparel and, putting logos onto things. So it's very easy to transition to and pivot and adapt to, factors in the economy. I like to say that there's winners and losers of every economy, and if you focus on, going after the winners, you're going to be just fine.
Huh.
So like
Yeah.
during lockdowns, we had a lot of plumbers, electricians, HVAC companies that were, super essential to everybody. Everybody's at home, their air conditioner goes out, they're at home running all their stuff all the time, and so
Yeah.
it was, they did great. They had a great business model for that kind of situation. And because of that, they had plenty of money to spend and they wanted to compete with each other. So
Hmm.
we were branding all sorts of different companies that were doing really well during lockdowns.
That's awesome. So if we want more information on Total Promotion Company, how do we find you?
Yeah, the website is www.totalpromotioncompany.com.
Okay.
And we provide international, actually. We've got a few international clients as well. The majority of our customers are local, and then regional as well. So a lot of California, Utah, Arizona clients. And then we also have clients that just love our stuff, love our products, love our service, and they don't care if they have to pay a little bit extra in shipping and wait a little bit longer for getting products from us.
Yeah. And so like what kind of stuff do you guys actually do? Just like t-shirts, cups, the normal stuff, or you pretty much do anything?
Yeah, we pretty much do anything. So we've got quite a few systems and equipment to do as much as we can in-house. I like to be able to control the production because then we can control the quality and turnaround time.
Hmm.
But there's not any one type of business in my industry that can do everything just because there's too many variables, there's too much stuff. So we have trusted partners that we work with. We do stuff for them that they don't do, and they do stuff for us that we don't do. And any kind of overlap is just no big deal because there's so much work in this industry, and there's so many niche markets that I call them co-competitors, not competitors.
I was gonna ask, what is the competition? How bad is the competition? Because this is
Yeah,
popular
I
stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a collaborative industry. It's I've gotten to know what would, in other industries be, what you would call your competitor, but we help each other out because, they're dealing in a niche market that, let's say they do construction. That's their big thing. we're over here, I do a lot of the veteran stuff around here, but like I said before, plumbers, electricians, things like that. There's so many different industries. So even if you are doing the same thing, you're doing it for a different type of person.
Hmm. Are you familiar with Nine Line?
Then like the medevac.
No, like a Nine Line brief, but there's a apparel brand.
Oh, the apparel brand, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
called Nine. It's called Nine Line. The whole they've managed to brand a whole level of apparel,
Right.
turned it into
And
a
so
brand story.
so I had tried a couple times to create my own brands, but
Yeah, I always wondered about that.
but we make for different brands. So
Yeah,
we'll somebody has a brand and they need production because we also do print on demand. We create websites and orders come in through their website and it comes right into our production queue. We
yeah,
produce it and ship it out.
yeah. And like a Black Rifle Coffee, all the veteran
Hmm.
coffee companies, and Black Rifle just went huge, and
Oh yeah.
like Nine Line Apparel.
Yep.
It's interesting to see them be successfully run that brand.
Well, if you got a really cool design, and you have a cause that people resonate with, and it's going to be a formula for success.
Mhm. Yeah. And so how many people you have working for you now?
Yeah, I've got 7 in the shop here, and then I've got a virtual assistant that's in the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
And then I've got a few fractional employees. So I've got a fractional CFO, and I've got, a few different people that work for me in different capacities.
And
Uh,
your VA in the Philippines, like what kind of stuff do they do for you, and what's that experience been like?
it's been great. I've had her now for I don't know, a couple months, and anything I throw at her, she's been able to handle. So she's doing a lot of the digital marketing for me now. I ended up letting go of the digital marketing company that I had that was local here.
Uh-huh.
They're so expensive, and it was and for what I felt I was getting, it's just the value wasn't there.
Yeah.
But then, I asked her to help me find some podcasts, so we could start generating some content. And she's the one that reached out to you.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
so that's Jerica, my virtual assistant. And
Uh,
so anything I'm trying, like I told her, I said I want to find some more upscale events. I want to try to find more high value clients. And so anything I throw at her, she'll do, and she's fantastic.
yeah.
It's been a great experience.
And you mentioned you had a fractional CFO.
Yeah, yeah,
So he like acts as the CFO for several different companies. Is
yes,
that how that
yes,
works?
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, we're too small to have a
Sure.
full-time CFO, but we definitely need those services. And
Mhm.
so, I I talked to her this morning even
Okay.
and then I've got a CPA as well for tax stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so um I went through so many different bookkeepers though. I mean, I felt like it took a while to find the right person. And I feel like, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. Like this isn't just like a complete success story. This is like a success, failure, failure, success, failure. It's just like, I think I got it figured out and then I get knocked down again and I get back up and
Yeah.
then but each time you learn along the way and you learn, what to look out for and you start to be able to recognize those red flags as you take your hits.
Yeah. Those blind spots that veterans typically may have. Yeah. I use bench bookkeeping, which has been
Mm,
fine. They kind of like online QuickBooks. They just pull every transaction out of the bank account and categorize it, and I verify the category is correct or whatever
yeah.
once a month.
We do that, but then we also the nice thing about having a CFO is that you can implement a system, some strategy
Yes.
to make sure that looking into the future, like we're looking years down the road right now.
Hmm. And so I've always heard that fractional uh, CFO or board members, whatever, and I just hadn't heard anybody. I've never talked to somebody that was actually using one, so it sounds like it's working out great.
Yeah, and then I'm also part of an organization called TAB, which is the alternative board, which once a month we get together with other industry CEOs and owners of businesses,
Uh-huh.
and we're all on NDAs, and we discuss our problems, and everybody, because they help to recognize blind spots within their areas, and then I do that for them as well. I hear what their issues are, and I say, hey, have you thought about this? And they're like, oh man, I didn't even consider it. And a lot of times that can be the key to solving a problem that you're having in
Oh
your
yeah.
business.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Basically like a mastermind of
Right.
business owners.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That stuff works great, man. Yeah. So, well, we are getting close to the end of our time, Brandon. Totalpromotioncompany.com essentially. And
Yep.
I do want to give you the last word. If you're talking to somebody that's in the military or just got out, military spouse, and they really want to get in entrepreneurship or in their own business, what kind of advice comes to mind?
And it's you jump in, and when you do, you go all the way in. If you're just, you know, once you make that decision, it's the commitment, and you don't allow failure to even be a word in your vocabulary. It's you figure it out, just like in the military. There's an issue, there's a mission, you figure it out no matter what it takes. And you're gonna get knocked down, you're gonna get punched in the nose, and you just get right back up, and you just
Mhm.
keep trucking.
Awesome. All right, Brandon. Well, thanks for sharing your veteran entrepreneurial success story, and look forward to seeing your future success.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Joe.
You bet. All right. These two veterans are Oscar Mike.